Containerization is a new way of looking at deploying applications. The idea is that by taking processes and taking configuration and code and putting it into a container, which is a protected enclosure around your code, you can segregate and isolate that code from other things that are running on the server. Traditionally, if you were running an application, it would be running along with lots of other processes on a server. And by using a container to isolate them, you can actually lock down the memory, the CPU, and the disk that you require for your application. And by doing that, the impacts of that particular process shouldn't impact the processes that are running around it. This also adds a lot of flexibility. By abstracting away your code and the libraries and the tools that are required to run it, you can now just make sure that the server that you're running on can run the container abstraction engine. The most popular one these days is Docker. And then by packaging up your code, you can then run it on your laptop, you can run it on a server in the cloud, you could run it on bare metal. As long as the server in question is capable of running Docker, you can then just basically push your code directly to production without having to worry about the installation and the configuration of the small things that are required to run your code. While containers give a lot of flexibility and freedom to developers, they add challenges too. Especially if you're running lots of containers. If you're running 3 or 4 of them on a virtual machine, you can kind of tell what's running there, and you can keep track of what's running there. But if you've started to scale out and you want to start running tens, dozens, even hundreds of containers, then they need ways to find one another. They need ways to know when they're healthy. They need ways to communicate with one another. And in order to do this, you need service discovery at the very minimum, so that the containers actually know how to find one another. The act of containers finding one another and keeping track of one another, this is container orchestration. And at Schuberg Phyllis, we use a container orchestration tool named Kubernetes for our workloads. Kubernetes is an open-sourced platform designed originally by Google and open-sourced a couple of years ago. Kubernetes combines service discovery, orchestration, and scheduling to remove the overhead of keeping track of your containers and your applications and allow you to move the focus back into the actual development and upgrading of your systems.